Hey, family. I am extremely excited to be going live today. And so this particular video, even though I'm going live, will be on my YouTube channel. Excuse me. And I'm gonna jump right on in to the topic today. So first off, let me start off by saying, if you have not subscribed to my channel, make sure you subscribe to my channel down below, and make sure that you share, comment, and like this particular video. So this video is going to be part one of a few. I believe it's going to be three videos. We'll just see exactly how long this goes, but this is part one of my domestic violence um, emphasis on my YouTube show called Breakthrough to Your Destiny. And so today I'm going to talk a little bit about the definition of domestic violence, and different types of domestic violence. And then in the upcoming shows, I will talk more about some myths and plans, how to support people who are in those type of toxic relationships. So again, welcome to my channel. If you have not been here before, I really appreciate you logging on and watching this video. So with that being said, again, this is October 2022, and it is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Many of you may know, and if you don't know, that I am the daughter of course, my mother, who was a victim of domestic violence. I'll get into that a little bit more. But as a result of her being in this extremely unhealthy, toxic relationship, I literally was thrown into a role of like advocacy in the Bay Area around domestic violence. And so the purpose of me really doing anything around domestic violence and talking about it is for prevention, so that I can share anything that I've learned on this journey with families, friends, those who care and support people who are in unhealthy relationships, so that they don't have to go through what my family has gone through. Excuse me. So I apologize. I have a little tickle in my throat. This year, when it comes to domestic violence, the theme has been everyone knows someone, which more recently, probably in the last few weeks, I have heard more stories about domestic violence than I really want to hear. I don't want to hear any more stories about domestic violence, honestly, but I have been hearing like tragic, very hard to listen to stories of women, wives, girlfriends, mothers of children being killed by the men in their lives who have, over the years, said that they love them. And so, of course, it's time for me to, speak up, speak out, and share in hopes for prevention. Shout out to anyone who's watching the replay. Leave a comment, share the video, and I'll respond to any of your comments down below. So, what's domestic violence? Definition of domestic violence is, which is also referred to as intimate partner violence, or IPV, dating abuse or relationship abuse. Excuse me. Domestic violence is a pattern of behaviors used by one partner to maintain power and control over another partner in an intimate relationship. I actually got that off of the National Domestic Violence website. Now, there are various types of abuse when it comes to domestic violence. And so the ones that I'm going to highlight are emotional and verbal abuse, sexual coercion, reproductive coercion, financial abuse, digital abuse, and stalking. So the reason why I really wanted to get on here was because I do get asked a ton of questions about domestic violence. I get asked a bunch of questions about my mom, especially when people know my story and what we've been through. And so what I want to start off with really is this is most people always ask me, like, how do you know, and what do you do? Like the gist of most of the questions are, how do you know, what do you do? Now, if I'm going to be honest, I feel like and simply because there are certain signs that you can look out for when it comes to these unhealthy, toxic relationships. And so let me start off with this. Now, there are extremes for everything, right? You could be in a relationship and you guys get into arguments, and every relationship is not perfect. And so, people tend to argue and have miscommunications and things of that sort. That's one thing. There's another thing when you take it to another level when it comes to domestic violence. And some telltale signs or red flags that you can look out for when it comes to unhealthy, toxic relationships that are in alignment with domestic violence, are if a person starts to become withdrawn, like extremely withdrawn, no longer communicates with people, very isolated, doesn't want to participate in any of the family activities, um, and becomes extremely withdrawn from what you're used to them being. That's one red flag. Another red flag is, and I guess it kind of goes hand in hand with the being withdrawn. Another red flag is how can I say it? It's when someone starts to become extremely isolated. And isolated meaning, I mean, they're very much so, I'm taking the kids here, I'm taking the kids there, I may go to work, um, and I'm back home. And becomes very quiet, and not really communicates as much as possible. Um, that would be, another tell that there's possibly something going on. Another potential red flag, if you're on the outside looking in, and you, suspect that something's going on, is what I feel is, it's like a misconception, are the physical signs of abuse. Because everyone just feels like, oh, I'm not being abused because there's nothing physically you can see. I don't have a scratch or a gash or anything like that. So people tend to think that just because you don't have those type of signs, that you're not in an abusive relationship. But that's also, definitely another red flag, is if you start to see bruises on a person, or broken bones, and there these stories that don't necessarily add up when you're asking those different questions. Now, that's another thing. When you're asking questions, um depending upon where a person is in that type of relationship, it can go either way. Like, a person can feel like you're just dipping a little too far into their business and they don't really want to talk about it. It also, depends on the tone in which you're talking to them about, and these accusations you may be potentially having, and so you have to be really careful that we're being compassionate and like not being judgmental. The one thing that or one thing that I think that tends to keep people from really like discussing and talking is because of the tone in which we as the supporters on the outside looking in have when we are approaching and talking to someone that we may potentially think is in one of these type of relationships, right? So take your feelings out of it. Like, I'm gonna keep it a buck with you and tell you, you can't be emotional. And when I say be emotional, I'm saying it doesn't really help if you have all the advice in the world for this person. You've never been in a relationship that has been abusive, but you know exactly what to tell them, how to do, how to be in a relationship, how to get out of it. But you've never walked in their shoes. You know what I'm saying? So my advice would be, for you to take out all the judgment, take out all the emotion that comes with seeing someone that you love being abused physically, mentally, financially, and really the energy that that us on the outside looking in have is we want to do something. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to jump in, I want to help, I want to hurt someone because you're hurting my loved one. um, but in those moments, the best thing for you to do is not to act like that. Emotional responses could be a major red flag, depends on the conversation. Correct. So be very mindful and very careful when you are approaching someone, being there to support someone, that your support is not coming off as being judgmental. Because clearly what that will do is that's going to turn the person away from you and make them really not want to confide in you because you feel a type of way about what is going on, what the situation is. Sorry, I'm going to chew the last part of my cough drop so I can actually talk without choking on it. Okay, so again, compassion, non-judgmental support is what someone in a toxic, unhealthy relationship really needs. They don't need you telling them what you would do if you was in a situation and how you gonna handle it. They don't need you telling them, when I see him or her, it's a problem. It's on site. They don't need that, because what they're attempting to do is untangle themselves out of a very unhealthy, toxic, complex, challenging, difficult situation. And what they need is some support. They need some love. They need some motivation, and they need a plan. Period. The most dangerous time for someone who is in a situation like that is when they are trying to get out. That is the most dangerous time, that really affects um, those who are in abusive relationships. For my mom, she was actually in the process of trying to get away from him um about a week or so before she was killed. He was in jail. She was trying to get her life back on track. There was this whole extensive plan in place, and then a conversation happened. I'm not really sure what happened with the conversation. My mom met him, and now she is no longer with us. And so that right there, there's one thing to have statistics, which there are plenty of statistics. There are plenty of statistics when it comes to domestic violence, right? But there's another thing when you can put a story, a name, a person to those statistics. So, again, I'm going to say to you, the most dangerous time that a person can leave, the most dangerous time in an abusive relationship is when someone is trying to leave. So if someone comes to you and they're letting you know what's going on and that they're really fed up and it's time for them to get out of the situation, the best thing for you to do is to help them with a plan and to support them non judgmentally. Period. Take your emotions and your feelings out of it. So, with that being said, more recently, I just saw something on the news. It was very disturbing for me. I saw that there was this young lady. I don't know her name, but excuse me. I don't watch the news. Ever since my mom got killed, I actually stopped watching the news because it became too sensationalized for me. Dealing with my mom and her story, and the news is just a part of, I guess, my memories when it comes to that. So I stopped watching the news, but I am on social media, and of course, I tend to get some news from social media. And so I just recently saw a story that really disturbed me, where a young lady posted on her Facebook a video of her being abused by her husband. And shortly thereafter, I want to say within the week, she was killed by her husband, per what I read on social media. Again, I don't know her name. Um, and I don't know all the details of the story except for, what I read. And then that may not necessarily be true, because I learned going through my own situation with my mom that the news can sometimes skew the details of what's going on. But I think what bothered me the most about the story, and I glanced at the video, but I could not watch the video completely. As you know, that's just a trigger for me. It could be a trigger for me. It's just sometimes I can watch stuff like that. Sometimes I just am completely turned off because it's too uncomfortable and challenging for me to watch. So this particular young lady posted several videos of her being abused by her husband, and then I think in the caption or the post of her videos, she said that in so many words, she said that the police won't help her out unless she gets killed. And then I think the story goes on to say that she went to um, drop her children off at school, and she was wearing a bulletproof vest, turned the corner in her car, and he pulls up and shoots and kills her. Now, first of all, the story itself, just the details, are so disturbing to me. But I think what bothered me the most is the fact that she felt that, not even the police could help her in this particular situation. And so that's concerning for me, simply because there are things and protocol in place to help, right? I think what's always challenging is, because a person is trying to get away from that particular situation, and they're with someone, and they've been with someone who they've been intimate with, who knows their ins and outs, who knows everyone that's attached to them, that unless the person can really like move states, move to, another friend's house that they quite didn't know about, a cousin of a friend, of a whatever the case may be, it's always very challenging. It's always very dangerous, because this person knows your whereabouts. That's one. Two is even more dangerous because once you leave, then it's like the pressure's on for the perpetrator, simply because now they're just, in a heightened, they're angry, they're emotional, they are all over the place, they're not thinking. They're not thinking anyway if they're abusive. To be honest, it's like, they're just rage and anger and all that, right? And so um it's really like sad that one, a lot of people stay in relationships because they don't feel like they have the support. They don't feel like the necessary protocols are in place to keep them safe. So it's almost like I might as well just stay in this because I don't have anybody supporting me. I don't have any help. I can't. I mean, he's gonna know where I'm at and all this stuff or whatever, right? And then the second piece is that I mean, if I go to the police, they're not gonna really do anything. They don't have, strong laws and punishments for perpetrators of domestic violence. Um, and so that kind of had me thinking today about of course I'm on here, because I want to talk about this and try to help out when it comes to prevention, right? But I also want to be a part of the solution. So I've really been thinking like how Aisha can you be a part of the solution? What can you do tangibly to, put your voice out there, let it be known and let it be heard that there are things that we need to do um to support people so that they feel comfortable to step away and get out of these unhealthy, toxic relationships. So, of course, I have great thoughts, great dreams. Um, and I also believe like you can, speak those things as though they were. So I'm going to speak it into the atmosphere. And I believe that because I'm speaking into the atmosphere, it will come to pass. I really, really, really would love to open up a safe place, a safe home for people to come and to not feel judged and not feel, that people are looking at them any type of way, that they're in a safe place. That they don't have to worry about looking over their shoulder because he or she is coming for them, and things of that sort, to also pour into the people that come into the safe place and the safe home and let them know that you don't have to go back, like to really build up their worth. Um and that's easier said than done when you've been pretty much manipulate not pretty much when you have been manipulated to believe you're not worthy, you're ugly, you're stupid, nobody cares about you, nobody loves you, or I mean whatever ridiculous things that people say, right? My mom, um I know for sure that my mom knew that she was loved by us, right? I now that I definitely know. I know that she knows um that we loved her, and we definitely know that she loved us. It was a little tricky because there were certain things that he would say, and the interesting thing is, and I'll talk about this in another segment, but the interesting thing, I'll go into more detail about my mom's story in another segment. But what I can say is, I remember during the trial, um, they I didn't know who was going to be called or anything like that, but they had an actual witness that got up, and then they had a family member of someone that he had abused in the past. Now, of course, we knew nothing about that. I don't think that my mom knew anything about him being abusive towards other people before her, but I don't know. And I'll never know at this point. But what was very shocking about being in the courtroom was the lady who got up to testify and say that he had been abusive towards her looked very similar to my mom. The sister of the other person who kind of got up and talked about him being abusive described her sister very similar build and look as my mom. And so that just lets you know that in their sick mind, there's a type if they're, like a serial abuser. And again, I'm no expert by no means. So you can take what I'm saying or not. I'm just simply speaking from the perspective of a daughter who lost her mom in this way. And my perspective, my again, I'm not trained on domestic violence. I've been to, several workshops, shops and things like that, but this is just my perspective. And so for me, it was like he had a type that he would really kind of go after. The other piece was all of them seemed to have like low self-esteem. Um, and even though my mom knew that we loved her, and I know for sure that she loved us, she loved my children, um, like with everything she had, she still struggled with low self-esteem. And then, there's this guy who comes into her life and he woos her and, lets her know that he just loves her. And when he becomes abusive, it's, well, I'm just a little crazy. Like I'm crazy. Um, but I really love you. Again, I'm no expert, but what I did learn in one of the trainings is that there's a cycle. And maybe in the future shows, I'll even be able to share the visual of it. But there's a cycle that happens where it's like the abuse gets really ramped up, and then there's like a honeymoon stage where you kind of just keep on going in this vicious cycle. And so that's what happened with my mom. It will be times where we will see her, and visibly you could tell that she was abused. Then there were times when visibly we didn't see it, but you could tell just by her demeanor that something was going on. Because any other time she was she was bubbly for the most part, real feisty, funny, um, just snappy, big heart, huge heart, would give you the shirt off her back. Um, that's the type of personality she had. But then there would be times when she would come around and she was just really quiet and like um overly reserved. And then of course there's the physical, abuse. And when we would talk to her about it, and like try to get what's going on, she would come up with different stories and tell all these like stories that had nothing to do with what was going on. I mean, there's one particular story, she had my brother on a whole, like he was going down a rabbit hole fast for no reason, because she had come up with this whole story about being robbed. He jumps on the bar headed to San Francisco. He getting ready to do X, Y, and Z, and da 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 da. Da. And he goes doing his own little kind of investigative work on the streets. And my mom said she was robbed. Have you seen her? Showing pictures, and have you seen anybody? And I mean, he got nowhere because it wasn't true. My mom had made up an entire story to cover for the man who was abusing her. And so that's why I say it's very tricky. I think that I'm going to kind of curb it right here, because being a person who supports someone in an abusive relationship, being someone on the outside looking in, this can be a very tricky, very delicate, and very challenging road to travel. It's not for the faint of heart whatsoever, um, because you literally have to take your emotions out of this experience. You love this person, right? Mom, sister, brother, friend, um, pastor's wife. You love them. And anyone that you love, you don't want to see them hurting or hurt. So, of course, it makes you feel emotion and rise up and heat on the inside. And, any kind of thought that you want to think of, you're definitely justified to feel that way, right? And I'm not saying that you're not justified to feel that way, but in order for you to be successful, effective in trying to help support someone who is really trying to get out of these situations, you have to be non-judgmental. You have to be compassionate, and you have to really take yourself out of it. If you can't do those things, pray from a distance and don't get involved, which is horrible to say, because you will get yourself caught up and wrapped up in an emotional roller coaster of ups and downs potentially, because it sometimes it takes several times for someone to be in a situation like that to get out. Sometimes, you know, like me and my family, they don't make it out, and then you're left with the aftermath of, all of that. So you can only imagine, the 18 months prior to my mom being killed, how up and down the roller coaster was for us. Of course, we never would have thought that that this would be the outcome, but it is. And so, um, what I tend to say a lot of times when I'm asked to speak about domestic violence awareness, relationships, and things of that sort, um, is for me, what I always tell people is, if you're in a situation like that, if you're in a relationship that's unhealthy, if you are in um, a toxic, unhealthy domestic violence relationship, I want to make sure I use the right term, intimate partner violent relationship, and you have those moments where you can like really think about, what do I do next? What's my next move? Aisha, what's your next move? And you're in this type of situation. Think about my face, my family, and what we've had to endure now that my mom is no longer here. I mean, aside from her being killed, there was all the emotion afterwards. There was the trial, like, which was very damaging to my family, very hard to process through. Um, and then there's almost some closure with the trial, but then still 12 years later, um, always looking over at the table and that chair is always empty, has been challenging. So I would say, if you're in that situation, if you have a thought of, should I stay or should I go? I beg you to go. I like almost just wish you could see my face, um, saying it's time to go. Make sure you have a plan. Make sure that you have people that you trust and that really and truly support you, but get out, period. So, with that being said, you guys, I am going to wrap this up a little bit. This was just like a little introduction to domestic violence awareness. I am going to go live two more times this month, and I have a little something special that I'm working on that I will be announcing in the next, let's say, 48 to 72 hours around domestic violence awareness. Um, so make sure you stay tuned, and make sure you log on. I have a couple of things that I'm gonna try. Like, I'm gonna try my best to tap into my YouTube page. I was a part of a commercial a couple of years ago with Black Women Revolt Against Domestic Violence. And so I have the commercial. I'm going to try to link it to my YouTube channel. I'm not the most technologically savvy person, but I promise you I can figure it out. And I know enough people that I should be able to pull it off. So I definitely want to show that commercial. I also want to show the cycle that I learned about in a domestic violence training of, of the abuse. So I definitely want to share that in one of the videos. And there was one other thing that I wanted to share. Oh, I also wanted to share the link to a lot of stuff has happened for my family, positive, negative, since losing my mom. And so one thing, I guess a positive thing that came out of this is that the show Fatal Attraction picked up my mom's story and interviewed us, and it's shown on TV1. So I'm going to figure out how to link that to this as well, or if there's some way somebody's watching this and you want to help me out, DM me on Instagram. Instagram Ayesha Louis, the same name that I have on YouTube. But DM me because I want to show like maybe a clip of it as well in this series that I'm working on. But again, this is a show that really God put on my heart called Breakthrough to Your Destiny, that I am going to be having videos on all types of topics. But of course, this is near and dear to my heart. Domestic Violence Awareness Month is in October, but for me, it's every month because of the fact that it's personal for me. And it's personal because I lost my mom to the hands of someone who said that he loved her. Some people always say, well, I lost my mom to domestic violence. I didn't lose my mom to domestic violence. I lost my mom to the hands of someone who was horrible and manipulative, cunning, and disgusting, to be honest. Like, that's the best I can call it. Even with that being said, I've forgiven him. That's a whole nother story. We'll have to talk about that later. I mean, because it's a doozy, I'm going to tell you. So the next 2 episodes, I am going to share more about my mom's story. I don't know if I'm going to do it on the next one or the one after that, but between the next 2 episodes, you'll hear all about my mom's story. If you haven't already, hopefully you all aren't bored of me telling my mom's story, but I feel that God allowed us to go through this for many reasons, but one of them is for us to share my mom's story so that other families do not have to go through what it is that we have gone through with losing my mom. So again, all right, family, I just want to leave you with this. Always remember that when life throws you lemons, throw them back. That is how I have been able to break through to my destiny, and that's how you'll be able to break through to your destiny. I really, truly love everyone. That's not just something I say, that's something that I really mean. I cannot figure out how to make the heart because my nails are so long, but you all understand the concept. I was just telling my coworkers that today. I truly, if you ever meet me in person, um, I love you all. I love the fact that people even listen to what it is that I have to say, and it means a whole lot. If you're watching this as a replay, for those who did log on, I appreciate you all. I love you all. It's not about the quantity, it's really about the quality. And if you're watching this as a replay, please leave comments. Make sure you share, like. If you leave a comment, I promise you I'll speak back. You can always hit me up on Instagram, Ayesha Louis, at Ayesha Louis, Louis. And I'm on Facebook, Ayesha Louis. It's just me. I don't have any purple hair, diva, butterfly, queen, Ayesha Louis. It is what it is. So again, comments, questions, feedback, share, like, if there's anything that you think, hey, I want to hear about this, or why don't you touch on this particular topic? Again, leave a comment or hit me up on Instagram or Facebook. I'll read it and make sure that I get some information. I'm a teacher by nature, so I love to do research. I'm gonna wait for the next few episodes to kind of talk through the research and tie it into my own personal life when it comes to dealing with my mom and being her daughter in this experience. So again, with that being said, I love you all. Thank you so much. Again, hit me up with any questions, comments, share, like, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys next week, next Tuesday. So I'm supposed to be doing the show every other Tuesday. I actually had a huge project at work, and so I had to push it to Thursday. And the interesting thing is, I know that I have like a ton of engagements on Instagram, but I really felt led to create this on YouTube. And so, again, it's not about the quantity, it's all about the quality. I love you all. Be good to yourselves, love each other. Until next time.